I love teaching my classes and I love supporting people in having those dialogues and, like you were saying in the previous slide, normalizing what it is. And it can be challenging to hold that and speak for themselves in that advocacy. And what I've noticed with the program that's helped in the classes as well as in my doula services is when I become more interested in what their values are or what their priorities are and step away from that knowledgeable authority of telling them information, the relationship shifts and our relationship of authority, they're already asking questions, they're already getting information for themselves that touches on that. And I notice they can take that and advocate during those doctor visits because we've been practicing what that sounds like and to feel empowered to say that. So sometimes I don't even have to empower them to advocate, just in our interaction, it helps them rise to that place.
I really love the fact that you use the word practicing
Mm.
because we're practicing, because leading a series of coaching conversations is really practicing this new way of being.
Mhm.
I'm being the expert, and what I know about myself is really crucial and
Mhm.
should be heard, right? And we're going to talk about this. Thank you, Connie, very much.
I'll just say, Neri, that was hard for me to, after 20 plus years of being a doula, to sit back a little bit more in that. And that was one of the reasons I chose to do the program a second time around, because the first time I thought, oh, I can integrate this with what I'm already doing. And the second time I was like, no, I can become a coach. I'm not a doula that has some coaching skills. There's value in coaching in itself. And so that
I
was a
agree.
big shift for me. And it took a lot of practice to feel comfortable in that, and I'm continuing to practice to feel
I
comfortable.
know. And thank you for saying that because actually that was one of the most repeating feedback that I got when I first started, teaching this because my students were telling me that, nah, it's not enough time to practice. They need more practice because they fall back into their I know it all
Mm-hmm.
position.
Yes, nurses will say to me, I really liked hearing the way you talk to your clients, and me mirroring back, I know this is important to you, or things like that. They're listening, and then all of a sudden, they're prioritizing their values and this bigger thing than what happens, but why it's important to them. And they start to see my clients for the people and individuals they are. And now we're all working together in this very harmonious way, which is not the way it started out when I first became, and it's so satisfying. And I hear from, nurses knowing that, oh, they're actually looking at my clients differently and improving their nursing.
When now I do this conversation, the nurse is listening, and all of a sudden they turn and they start listening to the conversation.
Mhm.
And then there is a moment that I see this ripeness in the nurse, and I say, so what do you want Nurse Jill to know? It is
Mhm.
so powerful, because the nurse is already there, present, available. And then it's like, so what do you want her to know? What do you want to tell her now?
Mhm.
And the nurse is present for what the clients want to know, her to know. And this
Mhm.
is so much more powerful just being upset with the system, right? So much more powerful. Thank you, Sarah, for your kind words in the
It
chat.
feels less like I'm going up against a system and more like humanity. Like this is another human and this is a human and we're all having a human experience. And there's a place where we can all meet and rise. And it just feels so much more elevated in a way that feels like when I walk out of that room, it didn't just impact this birth and this client, but how we see birth givers.
Exactly. So is it evident to you that you actually spend less hours with them in L&D?
Um, Yeah, so my son the other day, we were having lunch. He's 13, and he was telling a story about when he was younger, and he was telling the story, and he's like, and you weren't there, you were like at a birth or something for a couple days, he just casually said. And I've been a doula his whole life. So I said, wow, you've spent
Story of our lives.
I've spent a lot of your lives at births. Like, how has that been for you? And he goes, mm, it's all right, but actually, not so much anymore. He said, I don't spend as much time when I go to births as I used to.
And that was the first time you noticed it when your son
No, but that was so validating. I noticed it for myself, but it was so interesting that he's observing it
is,
and so
yes,
validating because some of my mom doula guilt is leaving and being gone and not being there for these pivotal points. And to hear that he's noticing that I am more available, that I still have my practice and I still go to births, but I'm not gone for days in the way that I used to be.
right. Thank you. I heard it from my youngest one before she left to college as well. It sounded like this. What, you home already? That's how it sounded.